Hello guys, thank you so much for coming back to watch another video on my channel. Now if we look at the trend which Capcom has set with the Resident Evil games, that we've been seeing the main numbered titles along with remakes. So we just recently had Resident Evil 4 remake, which was a quite successful game. So the next title we're going to get from Capcom is going to be Resident Evil 9. So now when Resident Evil 9 is going to come out, is it going to contain multiple endings in the game? Let's find out together in this video. And as always, if you do end up liking this video, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It would allow me to make more of these videos for you guys. Now if we look at the Resident Evil franchise, from the original Resident Evil all the way to now, that we have seen some creative ideas which have been implemented throughout the games. And among those creative ideas, multiple endings was something which was added in among few Resident Evil titles. Now let's look at Resident Evil 1, which started this whole franchise, that game which was beloved by fans, especially the 2002 remake, and for some people that's still the best game in the franchise. This game gave you the freedom to either you playing as Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, that you can also save the characters, and the fate of those side characters is actually depends on the choices you make in the game. For example, Jill Valentine can save Chris Redfield, or save Barry Burton, or save them both, or save them none. Same goes for Chris Redfield with either saving Jill Valentine or Rebecca Chambers, or you can leave them both behind while surviving yourself. And this was a creative idea while keeping the same survival horror game, that you have the choice to not just save yourself, that you can also save those characters you see in the game. And that's why these characters which we've played, either Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, felt very personal with the choices you had to make by the end of the game. Now this is a concept not just found in Resident Evil title, that it was also being implemented in a game which was quite successful among the horror gaming, Silent Hill 2. Now Silent Hill 2 offer you one of the best multiple endings with the choices you make with your character James Sunderland throughout the entirety of the game. Still to this day, people are still debating which is the right ending, whether you choose to save James Sunderland or you choose the water ending, which people think is canonically the right ending for Silent Hill 2. And you also had the weird UFO ending or the dog ending you can get to add more layer to the game, which was just a psychological horror game. Now after the Resident Evil 1, Capcom delivered a quite good Resident Evil games, but those Resident Evil titles were following a narrative, and on those narratives you were playing the main protagonist, and obviously due to the nature of the game you couldn't kill them off, or you couldn't decide to do multiple endings, so the game felt very linear in its own nature. Now after Resident Evil 6, Capcom reinvented this wheel by adding this implementation on a soft reboot we've seen in the form of Resident Evil 7. Now Resident Evil 7 played with a brand new protagonist. It's not the same narrative you've been following, and you also playing the game through a first person perspective, so the game felt very personal, and the choices you're going to now make in the game is depend on you if you want to save Mia or Zoe at the end of the game. So due to which your character Ethan Winter, you don't get to see his face, and felt very personal, so that's why you felt the character and you felt that you were in the game yourself. And I think that was really special of Capcom to do that with Resident Evil 7, because Resident Evil 7 was going back to the roots of what the survival horror game was, and it was doing a soft reboot. Now if you look at Resident Evil 9, which people are speculating based on the recent leak that it's going to be the highest budget title we're going to be seeing. This has been in development for a very long time, and it's going to be sort of a soft reboot again, because we're not going to be following the same sort of story of Ethan Winters or Rosemary Winter. And if the leaks are true, then it means we're going to see a brand new protagonist in Resident Evil 9, which is going to continue the story. So it means you're not going to have the baggage of the previous characters. You might see a reoccurring theme or a previous lore which might be mentioned, or previous viruses, or the previous incidents we've seen in the most recent Resident Evil titles. But that game is going to feel a very personal own story with a brand new characters, brand new enemies, and I think what Resident Evil 9 needs to do, and I think Capcom would do that it would have multiple choices, that if the game is going to have the freedom, which according to leaks, that you're going to be playing around the forest area, so it means you're going to see some sort of these RPG elements which is being implemented in the most recent Resident Evil titles. And this is not something new to Capcom. Capcom has already been doing that whenever they try to reinvent the franchise, whether that's a Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 7, or we're going to see in Resident Evil 9, that we have seen these changes. The Capcom has done these experiments by applying those choices, and this Resident Evil 7 kind of followed the same sort of route as Resident Evil 1 by being a survival horror game, and I believe Resident Evil 9 is going to be the same. It's not going to focus more on the action side, it's going to focus more on the survival horror elements, and also it's going to add another layer to the game, that you're going to have these multiple choices you can make throughout the game, which means it creates more replayability, that you can have few runs to get different endings in the game, and that's something which is now popular with a lot of games these days, that people are not into these linear endings. So what do you guys think, that Resident Evil 9 is going to have multiple endings by the end of the game? Please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below in this video. So that's it for the video, guys. I'll catch you again with another video on my channel. Until then, look after yourself, have a good one.